There is a given to those who game. Handheld gaming as we knew it is dead. Ever since the mass adoption of the mobile phone, the writing has been on the wall. Nokia tried it in the early 2000s with the N-Gage, but it took until the release of the Apple iPhone for the knockout blow. Now handheld gaming isn't Radiant Historia, it's Candy Crush Saga. But let's be honest, for the extreme majority it never was about Radiant Historia or Golden Sun. Gaming on the move for the majority means games on a smartphone, and all that entails, with in-app purchases, online patches, and microtransactions. This is the way of the world. But don't be downbeat if the thought of gaming on your iPhone or Galaxy makes you feel cold, because there is an amazing back catalogue out there. If we're entering the twilight of handheld gaming as we perhaps consider it in 2018, there is much enjoyment yet to be discovered. This is my paean to the little handhelds that could. I don't know about any of you, but I started this channel in the belief that I'm an atypical gamer, but wanted to connect with others like me, but also to encourage others who think that as a pastime this isn't for them, because they don't have a games room or bookcases full of video games. I don't have either of those, and I don't own a lot of consoles either. Handheld gaming is a great way to game without taking over my apartment, with boxes of games and consoles everywhere. I guess it's because gaming is just one part of who I am. Outside of YouTube, I'm a photographer, primarily a wedding photographer, and travel a lot. In the past few weeks I've been over to France, up to London, into Surrey, over to Kent, and to the Isle of Man, twice. On top of this, after re-evaluating some of my life choices, I have a day job too, developing websites to ease my stress levels that I have previously found myself in, but that is another story. I have a confession. As a child I never had any of the handhelds, only one of the two crappy Game & Watch knockoffs from the likes of the Grandstand or Sistema. We had the Commodore 64 which my parents bought for me for my birthday, but that was it as far as it went. I begged once for a Game Boy, but my parents balked at the price of the games. A C64 budget tape was $3.99 generally, whereas a Game Boy game cart could cost anywhere from around about £20. For them they could not see the value, so I'd be bringing in Snakes and Ladders to the final day of school before Christmas in the early 90s for many years to come, often looking at wonder at the kids who had Game Boys and Game Gears. And perhaps that is where handheld gaming with the likes of the Atari Lynx, Sega Game Gear, heck even today's Nintendo 3DS has come unstuck. In our age of smartphones, where is the value to the average consumer? Most people back in the day bought the Game Boy as a Tetris machine, seeing as it came bundled with the game in most cases. This psyche fits in well with the Game & Watch series. It was a game per device unit. The Game Boy was often treated the same. If we fast forward a bit to the Game Boy Advance, consider that only 39 GBA games sold over 1 million units, with the best seller, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, selling a combined 16.2 million units. Apple alone shifted over 250 million iPhones in 2017, and it doesn't include the sheer volume of Android devices. If people play a game on their phone, it will be a puzzle game. Back in the day that may have been Snake, and I still see many people playing Candy Crush Saga in airport departure lounges. The vast majority of people are not going to sit down and play Final Fantasy Tactics or Radiant Historia, however sad we may think that might be. But this was always the case. Before the smartphone's unstoppable rise, those people didn't have Game Boys or Neo Geo pockets. Maybe they had Puzzler magazine, maybe they talked to the person next to them. So why do I have a special fondness for handheld gaming of the non-smartphone variety? Well, my travelling is often just by myself. I've never found this at all daunting. I've always been the adventurous sort, having been brought up in rural Devon for all but my youngest years. But a handheld game can be a little comfort and a way to unwind. When photographing a wedding, I can guarantee I'll be on my feet for more or less 12 hours from start to finish. Recently, whilst in Cannes, in the south of France, I started at 10 AM and finished at 2 AM in the morning, and that was before I even drove back to Golchamp, where I was staying. The days after a wedding I'm usually shattered, so spending a few hours with Golden Sun or perhaps Final Fantasy Tactics is a great way to relax, and the battery life is pretty solid on the DS as well. For me, sitting down drinking a cold beer, listening to the birds in the garden as the sun went down over the Côte d'Azur whilst playing through Golden Sun seems somewhat apt, and a quiet, peaceful way to wind down the day listening to the neighbours chatting away. as the sun faded, giving way to the stars. Why not use my iPhone then? I have to be honest, I hate playing games on touchscreens. I like buttons. I'd much rather be playing Chrono Trigger on my DS than on my iPhone any day of the week, even though it cost me about £30 a couple of years ago. And that is compared to $9.99 it was asked for it on the iOS App Store. And of course, yes, the DS does have a touchscreen, but most importantly, most of the important controls are handled with a D-pad, so that's why I prefer these devices. What I think is dying is what I perceive as handheld gaming with the likes of the Game Boy and the DS. What is thriving is mobile gaming with IPs like Candy Crush Saga, raking in millions each day. As with mainstream consoles, the days of the weird and wonderful games like we had in the early British home computer scene have long gone, and the same principles have been applied to handheld gaming space. Get the right game and you could be raking in tens of thousands every day, perhaps even more. A free game with in-app purchases is what consumers expect these days, rightly or wrongly. If you launched a game on the iPhone for £21.99 up front, the price of the average Game Boy game in summer 1992, you would have an instant failure in your hands, even if it was the best game in the world. Consumer expectations and market economics have changed. People find it much more palatable to download a free game and then purchase the extras as they go along. For example, Final Fantasy 15 is free to start with, but is 99p per chapter beyond the first one, rather than the $14.99 up front. Innovation will continue to change things. The Nintendo Switch has turned out to be a huge success, providing mobile gaming experience that is seamless within the living room, and despite its shorter battery life, it provides a compelling way to game on the go. I'm sure with releases like Octopath Traveler and Sonic Mania for the system, I'll eventually purchase one, but perhaps I'll wait to see whether they can make a mini Switch when the technology can be compressed down enough. And here is the real kicker. As long as we can keep these retro handhelds working, there is a vast back catalogue of sheer fun to be had out there, and I don't think I'll ever exhaust it. Retro gaming has never been bigger, and the sheer amount of information that is emerging to unearth the classics is staggering. And it's still pretty accessible. DS games are usually quite cheap, and region free, certainly much more accessible than some retro gaming options. There is just too much interest out there now in retro gaming to let the gameplay wonders that we enjoyed die. So don't cry over your DS. Don't cry over those memories of finally beating the final boss in Golden Sun. The only way to stop yourself living in your past is to go out there today and make those new memories in the here and now. And never stop doing so. And you can bet in some form, I'll be gaming on the move for all those memories I've yet to make. And I think you should too.